street trees are also very powerful components. Shaded means more than that. It might mean protection from the sudden storm or from the glare or from the snow. But we always look for how a place is climate adaptive or climate responsive. In the summertime, we know the trees are pretty important. And trees are very powerful when they're deliberately lined up. You know, the first rule of design, according to Robert Stern, is when in doubt, line things up. Sometimes when we're looking at them in plan and we draw a set of street trees in a row, or even, imagine this, in pairs, like that, the urban forester will say, well, that's not the way they grow in the forest. Or, that looks like soldiers lined up, how boring. It isn't boring. It's not boring at all. In fact, the difference between each tree and its own intricacy and differentiation gives it plenty of visual interest. It's okay to line things up. Same thing goes for lampposts, by the way. The third ingredient is this connectedness. The great streets are actually somewhere, and they lead from somewhere to somewhere else, like they get you to your destinations. They lie along natural paths for human beings going from A to B, driving or walking or using transit or on their bike. So that one in Galena that we saw is this nice little curve here. But if you look carefully at the map, what you also see is that it's intersected by the rest of the street and block network that takes you up the hill and down the hill and around to that main street. Everything I just told you is heretical to the old school transportation plan and traffic engineering of, say, 25 years ago. In fact, that is reproduced from the Wisconsin DOT traffic manual. It says this is how you're supposed to do it. Well, not connected, in fact, the more disconnected, all the way down to the tree-like branches that lead to your cul-de-sac at the end of the branch. Everybody coming back to the trunk for every trip, it tends to be something that generates bigger and bigger, angrier, louder roads on the big roads. And so, just like in their diagram, what happens is when you clip enough of the links in the network and you push this hierarchy thing too far, you get the interchanges, right? The grade separated crossings and so on. But, so that's where that's the ultimate result of the other way of thinking. So yeah, I'm deliberately bashing the disconnected way of thinking and saying, you know, there was another method. We used to make networks, grids, webs in our street systems that deliberately brought people together. And then we did have to have a wide road. This one's 4 lanes wide. That's only half of it. We made them beautiful, like great parkways or great boulevards. And that's, of course, the possibility for roads like Saginaw and Grand River Avenue and Michigan Avenue. What is it that makes a walkable street safe? Well, one of the things is that you're not afraid that you're going to get killed by traffic, right? You can feel like you can interact with it and you're not going to get run over. You can cross it on the crosswalks. You can stand on the edge of the sidewalk. You don't fear someone is going so fast that they're going to lose control and use you as a traffic calming device. But there's more to safe than that. There's also the sense that this is a place that's watched over. So when you have storefront windows, this is pretty important. That light that I talked about streaming out of them, that's what gives you the sense that there are human beings around. So if you were to need help, someone might hear you call for help. If you were contemplating committing a crime, you might hesitate because you realize there are what Jane Jacobs called eyes on the street. So back to my favorite example of residential on a busy street, here there are eyes on the street. There are all these little symbols and signs of human occupancy that send a message to the would-be evildoer, don't do it here, because you will be seen, and this is somebody's territory. And then last, this is a little more vague. The great walkable places are memorable and beautiful. We are a very demanding species, so we go back to the places that satisfy our senses and make us feel good about being there. We tend not to go back over and over to the places that leave us feeling emotionally or visually starved. And it's interesting when you create that, just how willing people are to have a lot of stuff go on in the same space. In this space, there's deliveries and traffic moving back and forth, a cycle track for the bikes, several pedestrian routes intertwined. There's a subway underneath, the metro. There's transit up above on the street and a busway itself. There's multi-story mixed-use buildings all doing all sorts of things. It doesn't hurt anything that all that activity and all that coming and going is brought close together. In fact, what it did was it made the place valuable and memorable.
Is that in the US?
It's not. We have a lot of streets that are built on that model, but that picture, which I grabbed about 45 minutes ago, happens to be Paris. That's the Boulevard Rochechouart, if you want to go check it out on Google Earth. So let's do another sense of the room. I talked about all these things. So, I talked about most of these things. Which of these features on this little list would most affect your desire to walk or bike in a place? Curious, like which one jumps out at you as the one most likely to affect your behavior. 1 for street trees, 2 for wider sidewalks, 3 for calmer traffic, 4 for no blank walls, and 5 for more parking. Got to get out of your car, right? Polls open. 5 seconds. Just pick one. Interesting. Okay, so the behavior of the traffic and the street trees are at the top of the list. All right, let's do a 60-second shout out and hear why that is.
Okay, so my question to you are, let's look at the top 3. Calmer traffic, let's talk about that for a minute. Why, what?
Safety.
Safety. Why does calmer traffic help? Less distractions. More reaction time.
Somebody who picked that one, tell us why you picked it.
Less noise.
Calmer traffic because there's more going on there.
There's more going on there.
People friendly.
It's people friendly. One more. What? Higher capacity. Now let's look at the next one.
That
Street
took 20
trees.
seconds, by the way. Good job.
Street trees. Why are street trees good for shade? Aesthetically pleasing.
Protection from the rain.
Protection from the rain. Aesthetics.
Separation.
Separation from traffic, from vehicles.
Very good.
They don't move. Okay. And then finally, the no blank walls. Why is that important to walkability? Engagement.
Something to look at.
One more. One.
Something to look at.
Something to look at. Variety. Aesthetics.
Goes faster.
It goes faster. The block goes faster.
Safety.
Safety.
Time's up.
Stimulation. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So while we're in this neighborhood, and I just talked a little bit about it already, let's zero in on one of the other placemaking ideas.